நம்முடைய தமிழ் மொழி உலகிலேயே மிகவும் தொன்மையான மொழி. எந்த தேசத்திடம் இருக்கின்றதோ அந்த தேசத்திடம் பெருமிதம் பொங்க வேண்டுமா கூடாதா சொல்லுங்க.
செம்மொழி வலையொலி யூடியூப் சேனல். இந்த சேனலின் மூலமாக, அந்த வலையொலியின் மூலமாக பல்வேறு தகவல்களை தினந்தோறும் நாங்கள் வழங்கி கொண்டிருக்கக்கூடிய அந்த நிலையில் சிலப்பதிகாரம் என்ற தலைப்பில் ஒவ்வொரு பகுதியாக வழங்கக்கூடிய அந்த தொகுப்பை முழுமையாக கண்டு பார்க்கலாம்.
The title of this paper is Tradition and Intertextuality in Puranaanooru. Intertextuality is a term used by the Western critic Julia Kristeva to refer to the various relationships that a given text may have with other texts. The intertextual relationships include anagram, allusion, adaptation, translation, parody, pastiche, imitation, and all other kinds of transformation. According to Roland Barthes and Kristeva, every text is a tissue of quotations. Harold Bloom, in his book The Anxiety of Influence, expresses an unusual view of literary history. Having in mind particularly the mixed feelings of veneration and envy with which poets like Wordsworth, Shelley and others who came later regarded Milton as a father who had to be displaced by his sons. Bloom claims that each poet fears that no proper work remains for him to perform, as so much has already been done. The development of poetic tradition is seen as a masculine battle of wills modeled on Freud's concept of the Oedipus complex. The poet who comes later feels the crushing weight of poetic tradition and is concerned with the emasculating dominance of the precursor poet and seeks to assert his strength through a process of misreading of the parent poem in a poem which in Bloom's view is always a distortion of the original. A.K. Ramanujan rightly contends that the Tamil poets do not seem to be anxious at all. They are continuous with their past. Tradition is their language for poetry, which they share with their masters, their peers and their immediate audience. They both learn and modify it. The relationship with the tradition in the case of Tamil poets is remarkably unique. Clarifying this further, A.K. Ramanujan writes, but for a modern poet like T.S. Eliot, tradition is made retrospectively by the individual poet. Hence, his tradition is not the same as Yeats's or Pound's, though all the three were contemporaries and advocates of what each called tradition. In contrast, individual Tamil poets inherit, share and are made by the tradition. As the creatures and creators of their tradition, the Sangam poems make infinite use of finite means, generating novelty without defying tradition or quarreling with the given means. the Indian Oedipus does not slay his father, but obeys and fulfills him, often sacrificing his potency for his elders, as Bhima did in the epic by first surrendering to them. These poets did not feel, as Wordsworth or some modern Indian poets do, that every genius has to create the taste by which he is to be read. Creativity appears as the full present use of a given language. The whole actualized poem is still new, not predictable. This is what A.K. Ramanujan says about Sangam poets and their creations. The Sangam poets were not scared of their predecessors, however strong they might have been. They were absolutely confident of making their own whatever they borrowed from others. That they were aware of this question relating to poetic process is evident from a poem by Purundil Ilankiranar. This is his poem. Mudirvar Ippi Mutta Var Manal Kadirvidu Maniyan Kanporu Madathu Ilanguvalai Mahalir Tetri Adum Vilangu Vilangil Vizhumam Kondra Kalamgol Yanai Kaduman Poraya Viripin Ahalum Tohupin Enjum Mammar Nenjat Emmanorku Urusale Kaimuttala Nin Pugare Endrum ஒளியோர் பிறந்த இம்மலர்தலை உலகத்து வாழேம் என்றலும் அரிதே தாழாது செருத்த செய்யுள் செய் சென்னாவின் விருத்த கேள்வி விளங்கு புகழ் கபிலன் இன்றுளன் ஆயின் நன்றுமன் என்ற நின் ஆடுகொள் வரிசைக்கு ஒப்ப பாடுவன் மன்னால் பகைவரை கடப்பே. The poet tells the king, he has the courage to tell the king, we know that it is extremely difficult to do full justice to your glory in our poems. Your fame is too much to be contained in a short poem. The poem will be too long if it is to include the whole of it. When it is short, it has to leave out a lot of it. Your glory can never be sung through to its entirety by men with confused minds like us. But when outstanding poets have been born into this world, how can we refuse to live on and continue the tradition? A poet asks, you have told us that if only Kabilan had been alive today, he whose fame was widespread, whose learning was immense, and whose eloquent tongue could produce a well-textured poem, it would have been truly wonderful. But I will compose a poem, he says, I will compose a poem which will be worthy of your might and victory on the battlefield. It should be noted that the poet actually chides the king for thinking that Kabilan alone could indite worthy poems. Also, the poet drives home the point that there had been many great poets in the past and that there would be many more to continue the tradition. The Sangam poets never shied away from using the words, phrases, sentences, similes, metaphors and images that had already been used by their ancestors or even contemporaries. But they saw to it that they stamped their own poetic personality on what they left. The sentence, Asahu Yendai Yandulan Kollo, where is my father, he who was my firm support, is used in two each of Puranaanooru and Kurundagai poems. The chronological order of composition of these poems is not known, nor is it easy to decide from the available internal evidence. In the poem number 176, of Kurundogai, the question is asked by the heroine. Urunal Varalan, Irunal Varalan, Palanal Vandu, Panimuri Paitri, என் நன்னர் நெஞ்சம் நெகிழ்ந்த பின்றை வரைமுதிர் தேனின் போகியோனே ஆசாக எந்தை யாண்டுளன் கொல்லோ வேறுபுலன் நல்நாட்டு பெய்த ஏருடை மழையின் கலிழும் என் நெஞ்சே. The heroine says, it was not on a day or two that he came, frequenting on many days and uttering humble words, he captivated my heart. Like the ripe honeycomb, he has left. Where is my father, he who was my firm support? The heroine, uncertain of the hero's return, expresses her distress, though she calls him Asagu Endai. The heroine, whereas this is a Kurinji poem, the other one from Kurundogai is a nasal piece, and that poem says, சேரும் சேரும் என்றலின் பண்டைத்தம் மாயச் செலவாச் செத்து மருங்கு அற்று மன்னி கழிக என்றேனே அன்னோ ஆசாகு எந்தை ஆண்டுளன் கொல்லோ கருங்கால் வெண்குருகு மேயும் பெருங்குளம் ஆயிற்று என் இடைமுலை நிறைந்தே. Here the heroine tells her confidant, her girlfriend, when he was saying more than once he would leave, I said go, thinking that he was telling me a lie and that he wouldn't go. But he is gone. Where is my father, he who was my firm support? My bosom is filled with tears like the pond where the white crane is looking for its prey. Here the pathetic question is asked by a married lady whose husband has gone on an errand but has been delaying his return for reasons unknown to her. Just as she was shocked by his unexpected departure, she is now worried about the agonizing delay of his arrival. In one of the Puram poems, a grief-stricken woman searching for her husband's dead body on the battlefield asks the very same question. ஆசாகு எந்தை யாண்டுளன் கொல்லோ குன்றத்து அன்ன களிற்றொடு பட்டோன் வம்பலன் போல தோன்றும் உதுக்கான் வேனல் வரி அணில் வாலத்து அன்ன காண ஊகின் கழன்று குமுதுவி அரியல் வான்குழல் கரியல் தங்க நீரும் புல்லும் ஈயாது உமணர் யாருமில் ஒரு சிறை முடத்தொடு துறந்த வாழா வன்பகடு ஏய்ப்ப தெருவர் பேருயிர் கொள்ளும் மாதோ அது கண்டு வெஞ்சின யானை வேந்தனும் இக்களத்து எஞ்சலின் சிறந்தது பிரிதொன்று இல் என பண்கொளர்க்கு அருமை நோக்கி நெஞ்சற விழுந்த புரைமையோனே. Here the poem says, where is my father, he who was my firm support? Look there, a warrior fallen with the huge elephant he had attacked. He appears to be a stranger. He had fought like a buffalo bull, gone lame, doomed, deserted without water or grass by salt merchants in a lonely place. He shows the dignified stature of a warrior dying in battle without any desire to continue in life. The other Puram poem in which the sentence is repeated is by no less a poet than Avayar. This is the poem. சிறியகட்பெரினே எமக்கீயும் மன்னே பெரியகட்பெரினே யாம்பாட தான் மகிழ்ந்து உண்ணும் மன்னே சிறு சோற்றானும் நனிபல கலத்தன் மன்னே பெருஞ்சோற்றானும் நனிபல கலத்தன் மன்னே என்பொடு தடிபடு வழியலாம் எமக்கீயும் மன்னே அம்பொடு வேல் நுழை வழியெல்லாம் தான் நிற்கும் மன்னே நரந்தம் நாரும் தன் கையால் புலவு நாரும் என் தலை தைவரும் மன்னே அருந்தலை இரும்பாணர் அகல்மண்டை துளை உரி இறப்போர் கையுளும் போகி புறப்போர் புன்கண் பாவை சோர அம்சொல் நுண்தேர்ச்சி புலவர் நாவில் சென்று வீழ்ந்தன்றவன் சென்று வீழ்ந்து அன்றவன் அருநிறத்து இயங்கிய வேலே ஆசாகி எந்தை ஆண்டுடன் கொல்லோ. இனி பாடுனரும் இல்லை பாடுனர்க்கு ஒன்று ஈகுனரும் இல்லை பனித்துறை பகன்றை நரைக்கொள் மாமலர் சூடாது வைகியாங்கு பிறர்க்கு ஒன்று ஈயாது வீயும் உயிர் தவப்பலவே. We are about Adiyaman after his death. When he had a little toddy, he would give it to us, but now it is gone. When he had plenty of toddy, he would share it with us, but now it is gone. That is what manne means. When he had a little rice, he would set it on many dishes, but now it is gone. When he had plenty of rice, he would set it on many dishes, but now it is gone. Whenever he had bones full of meat, he would give them to us, but now it is gone. Wherever arrows and spears were hurled, he would face them, but now it is gone. The spear that flew through his chest pierced holes through the bowls of great barbs, through the hands of those who came to him for alms, and through the tongues of poets, and only then fell down. Where is my father, he who was my firm support? In the first poem, the term of endearment, Asahu Endai, is used by a lady love, to refer to her lover. In the second, by a woman, to refer to her husband who is away. In the third, by a woman desperately searching for the dead body of her husband. In the fourth, by a poet to refer to her dead patron. In none of these is Endai used to refer to God or to one's father. In the last poem, the simple question assumes metaphysical dimensions, since the poet raises the question to know where the body or life or soul of a human being goes after his or her death. During Abhayar's days, the prevailing religions like Buddhism, Jainism and Hinduism would have posited various theories regarding the journey of the soul after death. Does it completely disappear without any trace, or does it go to heaven or hell or limbo or purgatory? Being skeptical about all these speculations, Avayar wonders what fate awaited Adiyaman after his death. The question that has been used in its simple literal sense in the other three poems becomes a loaded one in Avayar's poem. Another utterance pregnant with meaning, என்போல் பெரு விதுப்பு உருக, என்போல் பெரு விதுப்பு உருக, may the other tremble as much as I do, is used in 3 Puram poems and 1 Agam poem. The poem by Nakkannayar belongs to the Pazhichudal Thurai of Kaikilai Thinai, the poem by one Paranar to the Muduvalai Thurai of Poduviyal Thinai, and the poem by Nedungalathu Paranar to the Vetiyal Thurai of Karandai Thinai. The Agam poem by Kayamanar is to be found in the anthology called Natrinai. In Nakkannayar's poem, the heroine speaks of her unreciprocated love for a young warrior. அடிபுனை தொடுகழல் மையணல் காளைக்கு என் தொடி கழித்திடுதல் யான் யாய் அஞ்சுவலே, அடுதோள் முயங்கள் அவை நாணுவலே, என்போல் பெருவிதுப்பு உருக என்றும் ஒருபால் படாதாகி இருபாற்பட்ட இம்மையல் ஊரே. She says, I am scared of my mother because the bangles hang loose on my arms, revealing my love for this young warrior. I may be shamed before the large gathering if I give expression to my love by embracing the shoulders of that great hero. May this confused city forever tremble as much as I do, being divided between two minds and unable to choose. She curses the town which, consisting of her mother and the gathering there, stands in the way of her openly displaying her love for the young wrestler. In one Puranaanooru poem, the protagonist curses the god of death himself for having been so cruel to her husband, whose life has been taken away in the forest. ஐயோ எனில் யான் புலி அஞ்சுவலே அனைத்தனன் கொளினே அகன்மார்பு எடுக்க வல்லேன் என்போல் பெருவிதிர்ப்பு உருக நின்னை இன்னாது உற்ற அரணில் கூற்றே நிறைவளை முன்கை பற்றி வரைநிழல் சேர்க நடத்திசின் சிறிதே. If I start weeping loudly, I fear that tigers may come and take away your body. If I try to lift you up by hugging you, I cannot raise your broad chest. May the unjust god of death who harmed you tremble as much as I do. Take my densely bangled hand and walk a little while so that we may go into the shadow of the mountain. In Nedungalathu Puranaanooru poem, the deadly utterance is not a curse but is used to describe the other's sorrow. Sirar Thudiyar, Paduvan Mahar, Thuvel Aruvai, Mayon Kurihi, Irumbul Pusal Ombumin, Yanum Vilarikotpin Vendari Kadiguvan, என்போர் பெருவிதுப்பூர்க வேந்தே கொன்னும் சாதல் வெய்யோர்க்கு தந்தலை மணிமருள் மாலை சூட்டி அவன்தலை ஒருகால் மாலை தான் மலைந்தனனே. Here she says, children, drummers, men skilled in song, come near the dark man wearing pure white clothes and drive away the birds that make a noise here. Singing the melody of Vilari, I will keep away the foxes. May the king tremble as much as I do, for he placed his jewel-woven garland on the head of the man who died on the battlefield and set that one's garland of a single strand on his own head. The Thurai called Vetiyal, to which this poem belongs, is defined as the one that expresses the greatness of a king. The woman mourning the death of her heroic husband on the battlefield refers to the king's magnanimous act of exchanging garlands with an ordinary soldier and regretfully states that the king must also be as grief-stricken as she is. In Kayamanar's Aham poem, the heroine's mother curses the mother of the young man with whom her daughter has eloped. Manikural nochi theriyal sudi, பலிக்கள் ஆர் கைப்பார் முது குயவன் இருபலி தூவலும் அகந்தலை மன்றத்து விழவுத்தலை கொண்ட பழவிரல் மூதூர் பூங்கண் ஆயம் காண்தொரும் எம்போல் பெருவிதுப்பு உருகமாதோ எம்மில் பொம்மல் ஓதியை தன்மொழி கொளி கொண்டு உடன்போக வலித்த வன்கண் காளையை ஈன்ற தாயே. She says, my bright-haired daughter was told a number of lies and persuaded to go away with him by a hard-hearted young man. Whenever I see the girl friends of my daughter in this festival-ridden ancient city, I am reminded of my daughter and feel terribly distressed. May the mother of the young man tremble as much as I do. Though all these 4 poems use the same utterance, Embol Peruviduppu Urga, none of the poets can be accused of plagiarism or of slavish imitation. Nowhere is it simply used to fulfill metrical requirements. Depending upon the varying context, suitable changes are rung by the poet concerned, and the statement acquires a fresh meaning, if not a new dimension.